Hello, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, wrapping up my analysis of Asmodee's upcoming policies and how they may affect the board game industry. Now, I'll admit that this critical analysis of such policies may seem alarmist, because board games are such a small business sector, especially when compared to other entertainment industries like video games. Oh, now that is an industry where you can really run into some cutthroat business practices. For example, in the late 90s and early 2000s, I worked as a web developer for a video game studio. There were always several projects in development, ranging from casual games to sports, World War I flying simulations, and first-person shooters. Now eventually, our studio was bought up by a parent company, Vivendi Universal. Now, following their acquisition, Vivendi Universal sent some business development managers and evaluated each project that was in production, and then pulled the plug on most of them because, presumably, executive financial planning and analysis suggested that using those projects as an expense write-off, rather than completing those games and bringing them to market, was actually more profitable for Vivendi Universal in the short term. And then, soon after, in August of 2001, Vivendi Universal shut down the studio completely, killing off all the projects that were still in production right along with it. Now obviously, those involved couldn't help but get the feeling that the parent company cared less about the games than it did about finding the best method to wring as much money as possible out of those games before discarding their drained husks. And even if they didn't, they shouldn't have made it the company motto. Well, fortunately, the board game industry doesn't treat its properties like the electronic game industry does. Right? The website icv2.com recently interviewed the CEO of Asmodee North America about their new policies, who stated that, quote, Asmodee's job is to facilitate success that does not come at the expense of online specialty retailers. Well, that was reassuring. Until shortly later in that same interview, when asked if they expected their policies to reduce the number of online retailers, the CEO answered, yes. Now, I believe that board game designers and publishers care about the health of the industry, the hobby, the community, the games themselves. And I'm not saying that the executive level officers of board game companies don't also cherish the same things. But the policies like the ones introduced by Asmodee, a parent company that recently bought up Fantasy Flight and Days of Wonder, the companies that publish the industry-leading games Ticket to Ride, Dixit, Small World, Seven Wonders, Spot It, and the North American English language rights to Catan? Those types of policies usually come from higher up, from people like Asmodee CEO Stephanie Carville, who even has a background in the gaming industry, serving as financial planning and analysis director, business development manager, and CFO of eBrands of Vivendi Universal from 2000 to 2003. Now, why does that name sound so familiar? I remember you. Quit following me!